It's time to fight. It's time to fight. If you down to fight, then let's start the strike.
This is Shut It Down, the Amazon Teamsters podcast. I'm your host, Randy Corrigan, director of the Amazon division. In this show, we're going to hear from Ty and Chris talking about how they have remarkably created not only direct action on the ground with the workforce and engage the community, but they've also been able to get elected officials to engage in creating the Delivery Protection Act. And what is the Delivery Protection Act? Oh my, this is groundbreaking. In New York alone, a supermajority of the council has signed on to support what is going to be a very groundbreaking approach to protecting and supporting workers in their very city. Amazon will be required to employ their own drivers. They'll not be able to continue to get away with this exploitive business model where they're dumping their responsibility on other small businesses in the area, as well as the power for the city to be able to hold this huge corporation accountable. Licensing requirement. In other words, a licensing can be revoked if Amazon violates certain safety issues, pay issues. This is a game changer because most importantly, what you're going to hear about in this episode is how these workers actually engage the elected officials and explain to them and got them to realize what was happening behind the smile at Amazon at work and the real things that are happening to get those packages delivered to the door. These elected officials have started to step up. More are coming to be supportive of these workers. Man, can't wait to get into this show. One last thing. We want to hear from you. Amazon Teamsters at gmail.com. It's peak season. It's crazy. There's lots of stuff going on. Make sure you email us. We get to hear not only either what's going on or as well as maybe things you want to hear about on the show or what you want to engage in when it comes to what's happening at your work. Again, Amazon Teamsters at gmail.com. We want to hear from you. And now, enjoy this exciting show. All right, we're back. Man, this is going to be an incredible show. These workers that are leading the charge in America right now, that are leading not only their communities, workers, but elected officials into a space to pass local policy to making sure that workers are cared for in a particular community and making sure that elected officials, for quite frankly, the first time now in 5, 6, 7 decades, are starting to step in and do what they always should have done, which is pass policy to make sure that workers are cared for and provided for and protected as far as their safety in their particular communities. And so this episode, we're going to be talking about the Delivery Protection Act, how it is being supported by elected officials in multiple cities across the country, specifically first in New York. A majority of the council a supermajority has committed to supporting it. That is going to get to hearing here pretty soon and be official at some point. Chicago is in motion. And it is currently happening now. Who we have with us today is Ty Pollard and Chris Torres, making sure that we all understand what's going on the ground. We're going to be able to hear from them directly. Ty and Chris are going to explain to us how they're getting their community involved, how they're getting their coworkers involved, how they're getting the industry involved, how they're getting elected officials involved. I am just so you know, Ty and Chris, before you each introduce yourself, I'm so inspired by what you all are doing because when we mapped this campaign out many, many years ago, this is one of the very central pieces of what can transform communities to protect workers. Unfortunately, in America, what's happened is communities have allowed the federal government or federal agencies to do all the protectionism when it comes to workers' rights. And quite frankly, they don't we don't have to just depend on that individual part of our government. We should actually be depending more on our local elected officials who make the decision for these companies, these huge corporations, to operate in our cities, right? They make the decision. They approve of them operating. And so you people are working and living in a particular community, and they're approving these sorts of projects, buildings, and different operations. Yet they fail over and over again to make sure that there are protections in place for all of you doing this very difficult job. And now we are seeing a resurgence of this. Almost 100 years ago, this was the only place that workers were protected, was actually at this level. When the federal laws came into place, what happened is the city government started to step back. And now what we're seeing is you've led the charge by doing the work that you've done over the last couple of years, bringing awareness to this entire country, to millions of workers, and then creating this space where elected officials say, well, what can I do to help? And now they're doing what they can. I just wanted to give a real, kind of overview of what this episode is going to cover. And then, Ty, why don't you first introduce yourself, what job you do, where you work, and what got you involved. And then we'll get to you, Chris.
Yeah, my name is Tyreek Pollard, Ty for short, because, I like the nickname. I'm a driver out at DBK4 Queens, out in Maspet. I've been there for about 3 years. The real reason why I got involved is that each year I was there when I started, it has gotten worse. And that's not how a job is supposed to be. And I really realized that the turnover rate for Amazon was really high. Like, no matter how you completed a job, how you did it, they would never call us, the drivers, Amazon worker. They'd be like, yeah, you're not really an Amazon worker. You're just a third-party contractor. You're under a third-party contract. So you just deliver the packages and wear the uniform for no reason. And then also, we don't have the same benefits and as any actual Amazon workers, like the warehouse workers. Our benefits and their benefits are completely different. So we working at the same place. Why are we not considered Amazon workers? So I got involved with the Teamsters about a year and a half ago, and we was building underground at my warehouse, and then we came up last year around Christmas to strike, and then we're continuing fighting because we need this union to be in that warehouse and strong.
Yeah, ultimately, you're looking for a collective bargaining agreement, and you're looking to make sure that you have a contract and some rules kind of laid out. Isn't it crazy that Amazon and all these companies, they have contracts for everything that they do, but they expect you to come to work without a collective bargaining agreement? A great way to lay all that out, Ty. Chris, how about you? Why don't you introduce yourself, where you work, what you do, all that good, what got you involved?
I'm Chris Torres. It's good to be here. I've been an Amazon driver for 2 years, but I've been working out of DAL 7 Skokie for 1 year now. I would say what kind of got me into this is through my experience working for Amazon. And my first facility was actually shut down. And that's also a major reason why I'm a part of helping, move the ordinance in the Chicagoland area. Because the truth of the matter is that Amazon controls a lot of what happens with their facilities, with their workers, with the routes that they give us, right? And, it's time that the workers kind of take control back, right? And not just with worker power, right? But again, going back to the ordinance, it's very important that our local politicians are, supporting us in this endeavor and, making sure that the workers and the community is safe to do so.
What does this mean to you to see elected officials step up to the plate and say, we're going to pass a law? And I'll explain some more detail about the law in a minute. What's it mean to you that you went on strike? You said, hey, we got this problem with this huge corporation. First of all, they don't want to recognize who we are as employees, and they should, and they have a responsibility to bargain. They have a responsibility to us as drivers. They control every aspect of our operation. And yet they want to dump that responsibility on a small business owner. Second, they want to create and control the conditions that make it very difficult. You can't even, it's not even a living wage in a lot of cases, in most cases. And obviously the benefits are inferior to the rest of the industry. You get out there and you take that stand, and then you immediately see elected officials step up and start to say, hey, well, we're going to pass something. We're going to sign on to something that helps protect you more right at work.
I feel like that's the first step, the major first step to bringing Amazon to bargain with us, because they have to be held accountable for all the things that they're doing inside the warehouse. Because they always try to tell us that, it's Amazon doing this and Amazon doing that, but in reality, they keep telling us, no, you don't even work for Amazon, so it can't be Amazon doing this. So if I'm hearing from somebody else, Amazon is telling my company to do this, and my company is telling me Amazon is telling us to do this, should I be an Amazon worker? But no, they wanna like cut all responsibilities by doing it just passing on a contract to DSPs. So they can easily just cut anybody's contract whenever they feel like it. Like, oh, you not listening to us? That's it. They cut it out. And this Protection Act would actually stop them from doing that. It would stop them from doing that and grandfather in a whole bunch of policies in all these warehouses around, especially in New York.
Yeah, what the Delivery Protection Act does is it requires Amazon to take responsibility for its drivers, right? It says, hey, if you're going to be delivering product in a particular area with certain conditions attached to it, your drivers need to be employed by you. You can't use this layered dumping your responsibility business model that does exactly what you just described, Ty, which is like two entities pointing the fingers at each other while you get stuck in between going, okay, well, who is it that's going to do something to take care of us? One says, no, it's Amazon. Amazon then says, no, it's the contractor. And then you get stuck in the middle and it becomes frustrating. So to have policy like that pass, and then, so it sounds like you were at a rally, you spoke on behalf of the drivers, and then you had elected officials speak about this too, and speak about what they were going to do to sign on to it. Is that what happened?
Yes, sir.
And what did you hear from them at that event?
Well, it's crazy to me. Well, it's kind of blurry because it was a minute ago, but it was a lot of officials that was there talking about Amazon's bullshit. Even some of them say that they cut off Amazon because they realized the more that they went into details and more research that they learned about Amazon, they've noticed that all these problems are just being hidden in a corner and isn't coming to light. Now, more recently, last year and this year, everything is coming to light.
Chris, you've been door knocking, engaging the community in this space. Let's talk about that.
So, yeah, I had an instance of door knocking. I've also taken more of a step forward into trying to reach out to other people, trying to garner their support as well. Like you said earlier, this is a process, right? So it takes a lot more than just, engaging the community or it takes a lot to engage with the community, right? And so I did have the pleasure of knocking on doors and kind of hearing how, communities do get impacted, whether it just be more traffic in the area or just in general being blindsided by the fact that one day the facility is not there, the next day it is, and you just kind of got to deal with it, right? I remember speaking to a community member who mentioned to us that there was previously, before the facility being built, there was a stop sign that had gotten knocked down. They had reached out to their alderman to kind of get that stop sign put back up because, there was kind of a lot of traffic, rural community, so you don't want kids, potentially getting hit. And I think it wasn't until an accident occurred due to, Amazon traffic that they put the sign back up and that it's been there since. And I think to me, it's a little kind of eye-opening to realize that it takes a lot, like really a lot, to get officials to listen sometimes. you know, kind of just how corporations like Amazon treat us, where they see us as, oh, you're just one individual. But just how we want to have, power within the workers, it's a power within the community, because we all really have to speak up for what we value and what's important to us. And, if we don't participate in these, sort of avenues, then, we'll just get blindsided and pushed aside. And, politicians as well as corporations can play a little dirty at times, right? And we got to make sure everyone's held accountable.
Yeah, and it's a difference between leading and following. And clearly, when you're leading, you're out there like you're just describing. When you're following, you're just going to get whipped around by whatever the elected officials or the corporations decide to do. If the community and everybody just decides to lay down on the issue, then you're just going to get what's left over. Let me just shift gears real quick, Ty. It's peak season right now. It's crazy. For those of us that come out of the industry, understand the industry, and understand what it's like to be in peak season, we kind of know what that means. But for listeners, why don't you describe what it's like right now with such high volume and difficult conditions? It's already a tough job, even without peak season. And now you're in peak season. What's that like, Ty?
The package count go up. The package count get heavier. Everybody has different days. You're in different areas. So it's going to get nasty. Like in my company, we have people getting at least 370 and up every day. When you have buildings and houses together, but the building is taking majority of the packages, and you're going to be inside there for at least an hour and such. And then, delivering the packages to the customer's door is not really much of a problem, but it's more time consuming than anything, because you have to do that to every building, especially when they have heavy packages. Because, they want us to adhere to the customer. We have to follow every instruction. So peak season, we get rentals also. We have cycle zero. People go out earlier, the crack of dawn, like 7:30. They have these smaller vans. You have U-Hauls. You have budget vans. It's just more work in peak. It's just heavier and nastier. You're just going to be, your body's just going to be exhausted, mentally exhausted too.
Yeah, it's heavier, it's harder, it's more difficult. Your equipment's changing, flipping around on you. You have no idea what you're going to get. Your schedule's moving. Here, this huge corporation that's making billions of dollars, trillions of dollars, is profiting, this almost an unmanageable amount of money, is expecting its workforce to adjust and navigate to all these things you just described. Meanwhile, not even claiming responsibility for you. And clearly, I think that a lot of these scenarios and situations where you feel like you don't have a say-so in them, that is what's leading you to take this direct action, right? This is what's leading you to organize. This is what's leading you to demand that Amazon needs to agree to a contract. Tell us about that. Why you think that's that's the path to make a difference?
Amazon got to listen to the drivers, because we have people who's been here as long as 3 years and higher, but with a job like this, you're not making any advancement or moving up in such and such. And then also, with the way how Amazon moves, you don't have any job security. At any moment of time, shoot, even after peak, I might be fired because I don't know how I'm doing according to Amazon's logistics, right? Amazon logistics, based on how they work, I could be fired right after peak. They could be just holding me here because I'm doing, like I'm helping them out right now, but after peak, I might not have a job. That's how Amazon system works.
So transactional. They're just like, we're just going to toss you away, move on to the next, like completely, contrary to the message that they send out when they're asking you to join the family, when they're asking you to join the team, when they're asking you to be part. Chris, what do you got to say about peak? What do you got to say about these conditions? And what do you got to say about how these conditions connect you to direct action, which ultimately is connecting other people within the community to step up and try to help out where they can?
Well, kind of like Ty said, everything just gets so much harder, right? And I'm sure he can relate. especially during the winter now, it's crazy. You'll be delivering 250 or 300 packages one day, and then the next day you're up to 400, almost 500 packages.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in the city, it's with all this weather. I mean, you can't control it, right? But that's one of those things where you should have some leeway on the drivers, because we're just trying to do our job, not only efficiently but safely. And with this whole idea that Amazon kind of puts these quotas on us to deliver 30, 40 packages an hour, or else we get fired. Like Ty said, it's ridiculous, right? Because we just want to be able to do the job and do it how we see fit.
There's part of doing this show, part of doing a lot of the work, the direct action that you've done. Obviously, clearly the strike from last season, Christmas season, holiday season, brought this level of awareness, started to ratchet up this level of awareness to create that social awareness around what you just touched on. What are you going to deliver tomorrow? Like, hey, buddy, let's have a conversation as to, is you getting this little trinket delivered tomorrow more important than how it's impacting all the people that got to make it happen? Have we lost our sense of dignity? Now, I will believe that people have not, once they're made aware of it. If you allow them to kind of take it for granted, yes, they do lose that sense. What the two of you and thousands upon thousands of other Amazon workers are doing is you're actually bringing that sense of awareness up and elevating it. And then it's creating that social awareness and social conscience that's going, yeah, I didn't think about it. My bad. What can I do to help? I'm assuming you're running into a lot of this connectivity with the general public. Talk about that. That's got to be inspirational to you. And it will be inspirational for others to hear exactly that. I know I've ran into that because I've had people say this, well, hey, I just stopped ordering Amazon. And I go, no. Hold on a minute. Don't do that. What you do is you actually, when they deliver, you walk up, you shake their hand, you congratulate them on what they are doing across the country, and you tell them, I support you. It is okay for you. I'm not telling you to cut off the delivery. We're not telling you to boycott. What we're telling you to do as a community, as a consumer, is to reach out, congratulate that worker, and tell them you support them, and then ask them, what can I do to help you? Because bringing awareness is where the trick is going to be. That is where the key is. And seeing these elected officials bring awareness through the Delivery Protection Act, because clearly we see corporate America freaking out over this, right? Corporate America comes into a city council and they try to woo everybody with bucks and, all these, cool presentations, get a city to approve things that based on their circumstances, when those cities have so much latitude to put guardrails, restrictions, policies, and accountability to big corporations. You're not going to just come into our community, set down your destructive business model, exploit workers and residents, both, because they work and live in the same community, not even pay a wage in which people can buy homes in the very community in which they're delivering in. What is wrong with that? Why would we allow a system like that? And what we need to do is create that direct action that rises that up, and we're seeing a immediate response. And you're in the middle of this, where these elected officials and community leaders or residents are stepping in and helping, and now saying, this is what I'm going to do. Corporate America then freaks out about it. What do you got? Give us a couple examples of how you've been inspired by those officials or community leaders stepping in and saying, I got your back. This is what we're going to do. We're going to support something to make sure we hold Amazon accountable. How's that make you feel? And do you have some individual stories on it? Chris, why don't you go first and then Ty?
So the ordinance here in Chicago is being spearheaded by Alderwoman Julia Ramirez, and I did have the pleasure to meet her recently. And, it's very eye-opening to just in general see that there are politicians who are willing to, stick up for us, right? Stick up for the workers, stick up for the communities, and, not want these corporations to, push them around even. And I think that's, the bigger part of everything, having met her and now also working alongside her to continue talking to other people is, very important. We recently got the support of a couple more aldermen in Chicago. So, it's moving.
Isn't that a great feeling to just watch it tick away? Like you take that next step, the next individual jumps
Absolutely.
on, and then they share their story as to why they connected to it. And what we're hearing is the strike that you guys did, the direct action that you did, just brought this level of awareness where they were like, we just did not know. We didn't realize that business model was that bad. Are you hearing the same thing?
I wouldn't say I've heard that exactly. I mean, sometimes I've even talked to other people and they don't even have a clue about anything, right? And, they may be more focused on other forms of politics here and there that I'm not able to discuss, right? Because I don't know about them.
But you made them aware of the issue.
Exactly. And that's the whole reason why we continue to reach out to them. And it's not just myself, have a couple of our other brothers at Amazon and other groups that are helping, reach out to these other people. And, every step forward is a step, and we got to take everything that we can get.
Ty, you got a couple stories?
Probably one, but the major person that we had to talk to about this bill was city member Councilman Caban. She was there at our rally at DBK4. She spoke about it more than anybody. So I already know she's down for the positive message. But what some of me, my fellow brothers who live in Brownsville, we went to talk to our district council member, Sandy. We spoke about all our stories that at Amazon, because we had drivers, we had people working in the warehouse, we had people who was, all in different type of positions telling their stories. She was like, if you guys never came into here, some of us really wouldn't understand how Amazon works on the inside, because everything is all happy and giddy on the outside. Like Amazon says, we deliver smiles, right? But you don't know what's happening on the inside. Not everything is smooth sailing on the inside, because they're hiding operations, how they're working.
Such a powerful point you're making, Ty. You're making this huge point that you communicating as a worker, as a driver, as someone doing the work with an elected official, with a community leader, are hearing the real story of what's going on, being compelled to then do something about it because you are taking control. Workers are taking control of your future. You're not just sitting back waiting for someone else to do it for you. You're actually taking control. And Ty, I'm sure you saw your incoming mayor just yesterday, I think it was, posted how much support that he has for what you guys are doing there in New York. Literally said, I support what these workers are doing, which we know he's going to be supportive of the Delivery Protection Act. And the reality is that's got to be awesome to see on, X or Facebook or, Instagram or whatever social media post. Then you see millions of people kind of around the country going, well, what does that mean? And it's because workers just like you did exactly what you just described, where you're telling the real story behind the smiles and making sure that they understand this is the cost of getting that package to me in a day or two. This is the cost. So why isn't it that we can't be in a more safer environment? Why can't we be in a better economic environment? Why can't we be in a situation where we get holidays and we get benefits, and this is a future, a job that has a future versus what you're dealing with right now. So great work, Ty. I didn't mean to cut you off. I had to emphasize that point because I want to make sure that people don't miss that. This is where power comes from. This is where worker power comes from. Sorry to interrupt you, brother.
No, you good.
To get a super majority on the city council in New York, that's no easy feat, man. You guys rocked it.
Yeah, because we needed to make sure that bill didn't get vetoed. And also, Mayor-elect Mondani, he was also supporting us and our first strike at DBK4, he was out there with us.
That's right.
And also different council members. So we knew that we had to come around for him, and he will come around for us, and he's supporting us. And then you know how everything has been going, how politics is. Everybody don't know about Mamdani, and then they're hearing the name, and there's like someone like that coming into power. So you know anything that he supports or anything that he talks about is going to be heard. So him talking about the Amazon Delivery Protection Act is actually good for us, because now everybody's wondering what that is. Because I know a lot of people in this city, and it's a lot of people in this city use Amazon. And then they're concerned about the mayor because he's Muslim.
His acceptance speech was all about working people. Man, his acceptance speech was beautiful. It was spot on. It was incredible. It did this great explanation of how working people and the community have to come together and create this environment that make it to where you can get by, where we can get by, where we're not. There's not a reason with this amount of wealth in this country. It is unacceptable. And to hear that election night, his was arguably the best, or definitely one of the best election speeches or winning speeches, and because so much of his speech was tied to working people. And understand, because of the work that you did before the election. In other words, you got in there, you guys built that relationship, you explained, he got to learn more about what was going on the ground. That then kind of shifts their platform, and then they attach to it because they realize that you're real people doing real work, and you're affected by these huge corporations that are doing these incredibly difficult things. Did you guys ever see yourselves participating in politics like this? Like, imagine the personal growth. Like, you're both kind of chuckling right now. You're like, it's crazy the space that how quickly you can occupy it with this message. Chris, your expression was a little more animated than Ty. So why don't you? Did you ever see yourself kind of occupy this sort of space and make this sort of impact?
No, definitely not. That's kind of why I laugh, because
this is a big deal, man.
It is crazy. I've
been doing this over 30 years. I'm telling you, this is a big deal. Elected officials listening to you and doing what you're asking them to do, and you being the spokesperson it's on the money. This is what needs to happen. You were the face of this, not me. Yeah, I'm the guy in charge. But if you notice, we put you out front. You're the ones, you're the individuals that make it happen. So how's that? What's that like? Sorry to cut you off. I'm just excited for you.
It is incredibly exciting to, just see how, in general, I recently had gotten, because I only just joined the team of talking to other people. So getting the first response from another person that they want to co-sponsor the ordinance, felt amazing to me, right? And, sharing that news with everybody else, right? You could, even though we're not together in a room, but we have a means of communication, right? And you could feel kind of that joy from everybody. It's like, yeah, that's incredible. We're having, our local officials actually listening to us. And it's incredibly empowering. Not to say that I don't appreciate the community listening to me, but it is definitely more empowering for me to hear my elected officials listen to me, because they're ultimately the ones who are going to put these policies in place to protect us.
Don't be fooled. The reason that elected official is listening to you is they know the community's listening and the community's participating.
And that's true, because when I called up the other person's office, they had let me know that they have had a multitude of people calling in about the ordinance. And I think that was, I was just kind of an extra push to.
That's why the door knocking is important. That's correct. Yep.
Yeah, say, hey, this is something that not only someone as an Amazon worker cares about directly, but the community cares about, and we need to listen to everybody.
Ty, did you see yourself occupying the space, kind of rubbing elbows with elected officials like this? Like, it's got to be, I know for me, when I first started doing it, I was kind of like tripped out by it, because they're just human beings too. We all walk the same dirt. And then once we have that conversation with them and we explain to them like really what's going on, a lot of times you get the real person that comes out, and especially if they're going to be supportive, then they show their empathy, and then you can see where they're really going to connect What's that? How's that make you feel? What's their vantage point on that, Ty?
I'll be honest with you. I didn't even see myself becoming a Teamster. I didn't even know you guys existed before I learned about it, right? And then when I got involved, I got like deeply involved. Like I was pushing the message inside the warehouse, underground, all of that. And then we moved up. I was one of the people who was at the strike on the news talking about what we're going through and such. They were pulling me to the side, recording me, asking me questions and such. And then probably after that, we started talking about the Delivery Protection Act, and I got more involved with that by, speaking up about my fellow coworkers that had got their DSP just completely shut down inside my warehouse, because if the Delivery Protection Act was enforced, that wouldn't have happened. We can't just cut somebody's company's contract. And then talking to the council member is pretty interesting because, you learn that they're more like us, but just deeply involved in politics. You learn them, like the more you talk to them, you learn them better, and you learn how they really feel about the subject and such. So I feel deeply involved and happy that I'm here right now talking to politicians.
Yeah, it's incredible. And, I don't know if there's anything you guys want to wrap up this episode on, but I'd like to really, really, bring it to an end by pointing out something. I know while you're in the driver's seat and you're doing what you're doing, you don't feel like you're impacting as many people as you actually are. Look, guys, I've been doing this for over 30 years, man. I've been doing this a long time. And this is I'm getting goosebumps right now saying it, because to see workers take direct action, to see them engage in strike activity, to see them engage in activity within their operations, because it's not always about a strike. It's just holding them accountable. To see you out knocking on doors, to see you out talking to elected officials, to see you out talking to the before he's the next mayor of a major city or other council. Like, listen to all these crazy things that someone would say, you can't do all that, right? No, you can. To literally witness you doing every bit of it, then to hear you tell the story, then to read, on X or in the paper or in a news outlet or Bloomberg or the New York Times that you've succeeded in convincing a majority or a supermajority, veto proof, and to hear you explain all these things that you've learned is phenomenal. And it is top tier organizing. It is the purest form of organizing. It is what transformed the Civil Rights Act. It is what transformed women's rights. It's what's transformed every movement in America to try to create equality and fairness, and to bring awareness to the general public and going, hey, enough's enough. We can't have corporate America just running everybody over, poisoning our water, controlling what's going on in every elected space. As workers, we have control. I'm explaining to you that just in my 30 years of doing this is an incredible path that you are pushing through and leading, because you have literally transformed the view on exactly how this worked. Clearly, you didn't think you'd be capable of all of this stuff. And you probably didn't even know that this is all new. What message do you have for others listening in? Because you've obviously stepped into spaces you otherwise didn't even think about that you would be there a few years ago. And now here you are. You're impacting people that millions follow. You're getting policy passed. What's your message to other workers?
My message to other workers is that don't fall under the pressure. Don't fall under the pressure, because pressure builds diamonds. That's what they always say. Pressure builds diamonds. And also, you got to take your time with things like these. I've been involved for like a year and a half. Amazon still hasn't come to us to talk about a contract, but I haven't given up. We moved on to like a smaller step, like the Delivery Protection Act. We went to that step. That's to hold Amazon accountable. Now we got to move on to our second big step, actually make them come and sit at the table with us and have a discussion like adults, because it's being ridiculous how all your warehouses in New York, they have the exact same problem. And it's not like, oh, everything's all peachy and everything, but it's a major problem across all across America. I'm being honest too, because you're hearing about it on the Teamsters, You're hearing about it everywhere, and I'm just watching videos. I'm like, so they're going through the exact same thing as me, but all the way on the west side. It's crazy. But to wrap it all up for me, I would say some drivers are scared of what you call it of
Retaliation.
Some drivers are scared of retaliation because they want to be more involved in actually bringing a union into their warehouse and talking to their fellow coworkers about unions such and such. You can't be scared about that. Discussing unions aren't illegal, or talking to your coworkers about wanting to make the job better is illegal. There's nothing wrong with that. Your boss just doesn't like it when we all come together with a major problem. That's what I'm saying. So I just want people to not be scared and actually stay strong.
And they're not. You just saw DBK1 nearby.
Yep, DBK1.
Just a couple days ago. That's right. That like you when you're out front, if you feel like you're alone sometimes, but you're not. I can tell you right now, thousands of workers are doing similar things. You just heard the Tom Group do what they did a couple weeks ago. You also, obviously, DBK1, there's more workers coming online. And, you said something, Ty, I want to emphasize. Pressure makes diamonds. You're 100% correct. Don't be afraid of the pressure. There's something very valuable at the end of it because workers have control. Workers are in complete control of that entire company. Once all the workers realize it, they win. Once they all collectively realize it, they're going to be able to shut it down and win. Chris, what do you got? What message you got for other workers?
I think Ty said it pretty well. I think workers need to realize what it is they're actually capable of and not be scared. Amazon pays you just enough to be, complacent and say, oh, I've got it pretty good. But then, you're one day away from not being able to pay next month's rent or, an emergency bill, whatever may happen, right? And we got to realize for ourselves that we're truly capable of a lot more than we think. And I think that once we, get to these realizations, these conversations with other drivers, our coworkers, our community members, whatever, right? It's what's going to allow us to have an open mind and see that, change is always possible. And it's up to us to be that change.
Yeah, and you're going to control that change. Workers are going to control that change. I couldn't say it better myself, Chris, Ty. Beautiful job at identifying the message to other workers and explaining. I'd had a number of Amazon workers, describe this as not the greatest job to begin with. Like, and quite frankly, you got to say shame on Amazon. Like being so successful. Do you really want your success determined based on the exploitation of millions of people? Do you really want your legacy that way? Or do you want a legacy that you come to work for me, you can buy a home, you can save to retire, you can retire, you can do this job for quite some, you can go on vacation, you can send your kids to school, you can get them into sports and you have the time to do all that. No, they're not doing that yet. It's going to be workers that force them to do it. It's going to be workers that do exactly what you're doing. It's going to be workers that continue to engage in this space and get the community to support you like they actually are right now. And as this continues to ramp up, and you see more and more workers doing it, the more and more will really sidestep that so-called fear that's in that space and recognize how much power is at the end. So Ty, Chris, thanks for coming on. What a great show. It's great to hear how all these roads connected where workers did direct action. They walked off the job. They've asked for their community and consumers and other workers to support, bring an awareness to a very difficult situation. Then elected officials followed, put together policy, and we're seeing more and more areas. Obviously, we're openly talking about New York and Chicago. But so you know, there are a lot of cities that this is building out in. No different than the first group of drivers a couple years ago in Palmdale did what they did. And now you see dozens of them doing it. You see other warehouses doing stuff, right? Like it takes time to grow. It takes time to deal with a big situation like this. And you two have been at the forefront of it. Great job. And congratulations to you, all the workers around you that are doing it. And congratulations to all those that are going to be joining your movement too. Another great show on Shut It Down, Amazon Teamsters podcast.
Corporate greed is disgusting. Instead of us, they rather pay for union busting. Somebody said the working man a sucker. They took the stand and ran like a high jumper. Teamsters Local 804, we not having that. We gon' stand here and fight for fair contract. Fair wages on the table.